You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
I got Bantha. It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file.
That doesn't sound too hard.
Boom! This is Making Tracks.
This is the way.
Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Mark Mulcaster.
I know these people. They are brutal. Does this look Jedi to you?
That's not how the Force works.
They'll never see it coming.
Count me in.
Mr. Back.
You're listening to Making Tracks, and a very special episode as we head back to London Film and Comic Con at Olympia back in July, where I had the great fortune to sit down with Jerryl Prescott. Jerryl played the Great Mother Aktropaw, the Nightsister who was helping Grand Admiral Thrawn and Morgan Elspeth with their plans on Peridia. We spoke about her part in the show, her broader career, and much, much more. So myself and Jerryl Prescott at London Film and Comic Con here on Making Tracks.
Hopefully everyone's not melting yet. So how has the show been for you so far? It's very warm and it's very busy.
It's wonderful. I want to thank you sincerely for your welcome, your warm welcome and enthusiasm. We couldn't do this without you agreeing to give us your time and watch all of these shows and follow these stories and invest emotionally in these characters. So I'm truly grateful for that, and I'm so happy to be here. So happy to be here.
So do you do many of these shows, and do you enjoy them? And I ask you as an actress, if you don't, can you still say you do?
Okay, I will. I do enjoy them. No, I always enjoy. It's never exactly what it appears to be, because there's so many wonderful professionals who make it look seamless and, easy. I know when my mother found out, for example, that I was working 12 and 14-hour days, she was shocked. She was like, oh, my God, why are you doing that? And I had to explain to her that that's just how a lot of film and TV production works. Even when they whittle it down to, 48 minutes, considering commercial breaks, they usually begin with over 20 hours of footage, for that 1 hour show. Do I enjoy it? I feel grateful to be able to do it, and some of it is very enjoyable. But yeah, some of it is it's laboring.
You make a really good point in that the amount of work that goes in to get what gets to the screen often isn't seen by 9 out of 10 people that watch it. When you're in a profession like that, you mentioned your mom thinking, wow, 12-hour days, 14-hour days. How do you kind of convey that to people that don't understand that you put in a serious amount of work to get that 45 minutes out the other end of, How do you get that across to people?
Yeah, I think people are more educated these days. Like a lot of you probably have a better idea of how it all comes together, that it does take a lot of people, a lot of professionals, and a lot of hours. So there's a lot more education about it these days. But otherwise, I think actors are being more honest, too, in letting you know that, before we get to do great things like Star Wars, et cetera, we've been to hundreds of auditions where people were like, no, not her. No, that's not it. And no, she can't have that job. So we've been through that as well. So it's been a labor of love.
And when you get a role, you mentioned the acting grind of going to, going for a job and not getting it. You're not quite right for that role. And you've had many roles. One of those roles lands. What is that, like an endorphin rush, or is it roll your sleeves up, let's get busy? How does it feel when you get a role?
When you get it, it feels like you have experienced a miracle, a real miracle from God. That's how I usually feel, because it's not an exaggeration to say, particularly these days with the computers and agents can submit their talent to any job. And there may be 2,000 or 3,000 submissions for one role. And first you have to get the audition. So if you manage to get the audition, and these days they may audition maybe 30 people, and 20 of them are on video. You know, they'll take a video from you. So they might audition 30 people. And then if you get down to the final 2 or 3, and then if you are actually selected, a lot of things have to fall into place, you know. So because it's the performance, the visual, the calendars. I remember once being told I didn't get a job because I was taller than the leading man, which I really resented. And, you know, the things like that. So there's so many things that have to fall into place. So, yeah, it feels like a miracle.
Where did this all start for you? What was the first role that you took that sort of got you to the point where you thought, you know, I can actually run with this and make a career?
Yeah. The Skeleton Key, when I was Mama Cecile in The Skeleton Key, that was probably the first role that made me feel like a real actress. I had done some commercials. I had done a couple of co-stars on One Tree Hill, an old show from way back, and a couple of other small local things. But when I got Skeleton Key, I really felt like there was something I could develop there.
And what was it about that made the penny drop for you, that you thought, I think I could be really good at this, and this could be my life? What was the turn of the... I was going to say turn of the key. Yeah. What was the moment that made you think, yeah, this is where I'm going to go?
Well, you know, that was actually theater. I was doing theater, and my first husband, the man who is the wonderful father of my 2 boys, he worked on about 8 or 10 of Spike Lee's films as an editor. So he worked on, you know, probably all of Spike Lee's films that you can remember. And he came to one of my performances. We were dating at the time. And I was doing a theatrical performance. It was an original play. I can't remember the name of it right now. But at the end, he said, you know, you're pretty good. You should take it more seriously. And I respected his work because he had been in the business. And I took his recommendation to heart. And that's when I first got an agent. I had been doing theater for a long time. I came to acting as an older woman, you know. By the time I moved to L.A., I was already 40. So at this time, when I met him, I think I was about 33, 34, something like that. And I was just doing it for fun. And I thought all actors had to be 16 and skinny and you know, model perfect and all that. So I really didn't consider myself to have much of a career ahead of me. I thought it was just a fun thing to do on the side.
You're not 40, no way.
Oh, yeah. I am proud to be 60. I am 60 years old. I turned 60 this year. And I'm so proud to be 60.
I'll have what she's having.
Hello, I'm Dennis Lawson, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
So, what was your life before the acting bug caught hold? I mean, I saw you've got PhDs, you've got masters, you've done all sorts of stuff. Yeah. I want to ask you about the trucker question. I definitely want to ask you about that. Okay. But what was your life like before acting became the life for you?
Yeah, I was a professor of literature and writing. And so I was teaching. I also was in administration. I worked as a dean. I was an advisor for college students. I listened to my colleagues complain about what they wanted to happen in the university space. These days, they would be complaining even more in America, considering some people consider our current administration to be interfering with academic freedoms. And my colleagues are up in arms over that, as they should be. That's what I used to do, and that was a lot of fun. And I'm still in touch with a lot of my former students, some who live here, as well as those in the States.
That must be a joy to be a teacher, to be in that world, and then move out of it to do something that follow your own bliss.
Yeah.
But then you've got all those kids that have sat under your learning tree and now watching you on television. That must be a joy to keep in touch with them.
It's fun. I'm sure it trips my kids out, my students out. It trips them out. They're like, what? I know one time I did a show called Hawthorne with Jada Pinkett Smith, you know, who she was married to Will Smith. And we were in a hospital setting, and she asked me to get her some lunch, maybe some lasagna. And one of my students texted me. She said, "Did Jada Pinkett Smith just ask Dean Prescott to get her lasagna?" Right? Yeah, so it really trips them out when they see things like that. But what I hope it does is give them some confidence that, you know, whatever they imagine themselves doing, they should make an effort to do it and go for it. Because I'm always telling my kids that if you don't like your life, change it. And don't believe any of those people who tell you that you don't fit the mold of what, you know, some others think it should look like.
Totally.
You know, just go for it.
Even if you're taller than your leading man.
Exactly.
Yeah. So are you glad that life dealt you this hand in that you've lived a life and then you bring your experiences to the performances that you now do? Are you glad that it was kind of that way around?
Yeah. It's interesting, the full circle moments that I've had. A couple of the projects that I've worked on, I remember teaching the texts that inspired those projects when I was a teacher. And I think that's one of the things that really helps my acting, because one of the things that I often emphasize to my students is close critical reading. And that's what we do with a script when we develop a character. You start with that script as a Bible, and you read it closely, and you look for the clues that give that character humanity and depth.
So because of your experiences, maybe you look at roles in a different way to many other actors do. You're not analytical in a negative way, but analytical in a what can I pull out of this to improve the performance way.
Yeah, what can I pull out of it too? Well, the writer wants the actor to bring something that's not on the page. And that's what really gives a character life. And humanity. And if you look at the way auditions happen sometimes, for example, my audition for Ahsoka, there was a lot of improv requested.
Okay.
And, of course, because they are so secretive in the Star Wars universe, I didn't actually see any of the text from the script of Ahsoka.
Okay.
I was just asked to improv a couple of scenes.
So they're wanting your take on the vibe of it, to bring your own flavour to it. They just wanted to see what you could do.
Exactly. They gave me a bit of a scenario that had to do with approaching an altar, maybe praying, maybe worshiping, maybe delivering an important message, and then it was my job to improvise that. Yeah, it worked. It worked.
It definitely worked.
It worked that time. And like I said, there are lots of times when it doesn't work, but yeah, that time it worked.
Is that part of the fun of it, that you're throwing your hand in to create a character?
Yeah.
And you're part of the creative process. I mean, Star Wars obviously has been going for 50 years nearly.
Right.
The Nightsisters have got their own sort of legacy within the canon already, within the cartoons and such. Were you aware of any of that, or were you coming to it completely fresh?
Well, I have two boys. Well, now they're young men, one who just graduated college and one who's a sophomore in college. But when they were little, they were obsessed with Star Wars. They had the encyclopedias as well as the encyclopedias for DC and Marvel. You know, they were all up in the genres that are created to get our little people fascinated. And so when I got the job, I went to them as my experts and said, okay, what can you tell me about, what leads up to Ahsoka? And they gave me a list of stuff that I had to rewatch.
Right.
Clone Wars, et cetera. Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
Yes. And really, when I went back and watched it again as an actor, I guess as a grown woman, it was even more fulfilling for me than when I watched it with the boys when they were growing up.
Yeah.
And maybe because I had a more invested, reason to watch it. Because before it was just something to entertain my kids, right?
Yeah.
And even though I enjoyed it, when I went back and rewatched a lot of the movies as well as some of the TV, I was just fascinated, one, at how relevant it still is so many years later. even when it comes to, I thought, gender issues as well as world issues and how we relate to each other. But yeah, it's fascinating.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video, and social media feeds, bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
Looking through your CV of work, you've done a lot of shows where you would guest. I noticed you played a judge a few times. So there's certain roles that you would go in and do. Yeah. And then you went to something like Star Wars, which has got such, as we say, such a rich history. Is it interesting as an actor to be... No, there's no small parts in Star Wars, we often say this, but to be a role, a specific cog in this massive machine, is it interesting as an actor to insert yourself into that bigger picture?
Yes. And you know, they say, you know, there are no small parts, right? Yeah. Only small actors, right? And...
well, you didn't get a role because you were bigger than one of those small actors. So.
Right? Exactly. They are small. Everybody in LA is a little smaller than they appear. But if you think about, for example, in The Walking Dead, Jackie was created by Frank Darabont.
Yeah.
Right? And it was created really for one episode initially. And then he, you know, decided to add Jackie to the other episodes. And really, that kind of thing, to me, has always been, you know, very fulfilling. It's made me feel good in that I feel that whatever I brought to a character has inspired people to want to spend more time with that person or that kind of person.
And that also, to your credit, speaks to you as an actor, because if there wasn't that spark, they wouldn't have thought there's more in this character than we realise. Yeah. So it kind of goes back to saying about critical reading and bringing extra things out. It's definitely a benefit.
Yeah.
So when you got Star Wars and you get the role, and then you realise that there's makeup involved, there's costuming involved, you're entering the machine of that process. Is that interesting to be sort of witness to it as much as being a part of it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's fascinating. I was telling a couple of people today that when I watched the first season of Ahsoka, I was as fascinated as the fans who hadn't seen anything, because once they add all of the layers of computer imaging, etc., it's so different from what I experienced on set. I had no idea, you know, that it would be, you know, what it turned into.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely just as enthralling, you know, as it is for the fans when they see it the first time. And the same thing happens with regular, you know, scripted TV. If I'm guest starring on a show or recurring on something, in that moment that I'm on set, I'm using my imagination to really be as human and as present, and to have this relationship with the person in the scene, you know, in such an intense way that I don't notice a lot of the other things that are happening around us necessarily. And so when I see it, I go, oh, I didn't even know all of that was happening, you know. And so it's really fun to try to watch it as an audience member.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you're in it, so obviously there's the inherent interest because you're in it.
Yeah.
But then it sounds to me that as a post your involvement thing, you get a lot out of it. You can soak yourself up in the world. You know internally what your character's thinking because you thought it.
Right.
It's a whole different game, ball game then, isn't it? Once you've been in it, it adds another layer to it.
Absolutely. And if I've left a show, if I've moved on to something else, of course I continue to watch it. Maybe because I'm still invested in the colleagues that I've made, the friends that I've made, but also because of the human story, you know, that's being developed there.
Being in Ahsoka, it was such a big deal. Dave Filoni obviously was, along with George Lucas, created the character, and it's had such a long life, and now comes to live action, and season 2's filming right now. So when you get involved in that and see the process and see the care and attention that the team put into it, is that inspiring to you? Does that add another layer to what you're doing as well?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah, all the experts, including our amazing costumers. We lost one in a tragic death this past season. But it's very inspiring to look at how much attention to detail everyone who works on these shows brings to the job. It's more than a job for all of them. And all of them probably have been around longer than all of the actors put together. They can tell you the history of it all way back. And they are dedicated not only to the process of production, but they're dedicated to making it work for each actor who shows up. They're very personable and just very present in, assisting us in whatever we need. So yeah, it's really it spoils you because when I get home, my boys, my husband, they don't pay as much attention to me as these wonderful experts do. So yeah, so it's back to reality. Nobody's managing every minute detail of my life.
Do you feel taken care of in that sense? Because there's the three of you together.
Yeah.
But it feels like the way you've described it, Filoni and the writers and Favreau and everybody else has gone. One of the characters, you have a life, you have a history. They're individual people who've come together to form this coven, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
That feels quite unique in that the care has been put into each individual one instead of just looking at it as a block of characters.
That's right. That's right. They are paying attention to every detail, the lighting, the costuming, every word you say, making sure it's word perfect to the script because that's so important, of course, to the universe.
Yeah.
And just every moment, the contacts, how long have you had those contacts in your eyes? Are you comfortable there? Do we need to make an adjustment? Just everything. And then there's an expert whose job is to just remove the contacts, period. That person does just that, and that's it. And so yeah, it's really we're really blessed.
And are you okay with things like that? Not everybody is cool with the contacts, with all the makeup, with the hot costume. You're presumably you cope with that okay?
Yeah. I'm pretty strong. I'm pretty. The hours don't usually bother me so much. I can remember being sleepy on the Walking Dead set though one night when we were shooting. It was like 2 a.m. And I really thought I was going to fall asleep in the middle of a line kind of thing. I do remember that. But usually I have the energy, the stamina to deal with the hours. And the contacts I've worn a couple of times. I wore contacts for Swamp Thing too. And they are very careful to have us visit with the medical professionals to make sure they're properly fitted and that everything is, safe. So I've never felt unsafe on a set. I've heard about horrible things happening to people on sets, but no, I've always felt very taken care of.
And presumably, you're there to work. It's a professional environment,
exactly.
but you guys have fun.
Yeah. Oh, my God, we have so much fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And a lot of getting to know each other. Yeah, and that, of course, I think spills into the characters. I know, like, with the Great Sisters, the Great Mothers, and the Nightsisters, as well as with our team of survivors in Walking Dead.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time, of course, between scenes talking about life and getting to know each other in a way that I think comes across on screen because we care about, to care about each other.
When you're an actor, is it necessary to be a people person? Because going back to the amount of hours you spend putting this hour on the screen, there's many, many, many hours that goes into that happening. So have you kind of got to be a personable kind of person, just want to chat? I mean, we only just met and we're having a chat. So, you've got to be that kind of person that wants to converse.
Theoretically. Now, there are some people in the business who just have a reputation for wanting to do their work, and then they don't want to talk to anybody. And maybe they consider it a distraction from their concentration on what they have to do to create the character and to have the results they want to have. So there are people who don't engage. and, they might eat their lunch in their trailer. They really don't want to do that. And there are days when I might want my lunch in private space, too, sometimes. But for the most part, I want to do. It's one of the reasons that I am attracted to the profession.
Yeah.
Because I want to collaborate, and I like learning from people, and getting to know people. So
I guess because of that, you're a people watcher. You're a sit down with a cup of coffee and watch the world go by.
Right.
You enjoy that.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Hi, this is Maria Sandoval, head hairstylist for the Star Wars universe, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
You've been in Ahsoka now. You're part of the Star Wars galaxy, and one of the sort of spin-off ancillary things of that is that there may be an action figure. You might be in books. You get to do events like this, and of course you've been in The Walking Dead before. You've been involved in big shows before. It's not your first rodeo in that sense, but Star Wars is certainly a big machine.
Definitely.
Do you enjoy that element of it?
Yeah. It's I'm very, very fortunate, right, to be involved in such amazing these franchises that have such loyal fan bases and that have had such a long history. And I very much enjoy being a part of that. And it's in some ways I kind of want to disappear into it, and that's really cool too, to be so much behind the character that people can just experience the character very separate from me or knowing anything about me. And that's really fulfilling in some ways too. Yeah.
So okay, Aktropaw in Ahsoka, your character, is there anything about her that you think is like you?
Is not me?
That is like you.
Oh, that is like me. Oh my God, yeah, so many things. I'm an older woman. I'm not 1,000 years old, but I'm 60, and that alone gives me a certain perspective on the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that has been interesting for me. It was very important to me when I started talking to Filoni, asking him about the age of these women.
Yeah.
And when we think about women and how we mature faster than men often, right? I think about, particularly these days, when we think about what would happen if women ruled the world, for example. If some of our world leaders were not men but were women, how might it affect the world that we live in, right? So, when we watch these older movies, Star Wars in particular, and we look at how the treatment of women in some ways gives us clues to how the men are changing or evolving. It's fascinating to look at it from that perspective. And so I'm always coming really at the work from that perspective. In what way does it tell us something about gender and gender roles and how we affect each other, how women affect men, how men affect women? What happens when women aren't in the room among these men? What happens when women aren't involved in the decision making? And how we can see the fate of humanity when women are left out or women are silenced. And so all of that, as well as age, I think for me in particular, because 60 was such a milestone for me, I'll tell you something, it was more private. Like my biological, I was adopted, but what I found is that my biological mother, my biological father, and my biological half-sister all passed away at 57.
Right.
And so it was always for me, something to make it past 57.
Yeah.
And to get to 60, that's why I celebrated it so much. And to look back on my life and to look at the world from the perspective of someone who's 60, gives me a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
And a full circle moment for me is that when I think about being an advisor to college students and how they would be freaking out or melting down or thinking that their teachers hated them or something like that. And my job was to give them perspective and help them to understand everyone here is here to help you.
Yeah.
We all want you to succeed. Your teacher does not hate you. If you go and talk to her or him, they probably will will want to mentor you, to give them perspective as young people. And so that's sort of how I feel now, as a great mother of 1,000 years. My job here is to provide some perspective, people, on what's going on. So being there for Thrawn, being there for, whoever's in the room.
Yeah.
I feel like my job is to, provide some wisdom, some perspective on what's happening.
Perspective is everything, especially in a certain point of view. I mean, that's
age
everything.
helps it always.
Yeah.
Age helps it.
And your character doesn't see herself as a villain. Your character doesn't see herself as a villain. She's not the villain.
Absolutely not. Are you kidding? No. No.
So I don't know how much time we've got left. There you go. So, good. One more question. What's next for you? Be it personal, professional, or anything else?
Yeah. Well, I have to fly back to California eventually. That's first, I guess. And I have my oldest son just graduated from college, and my youngest is a sophomore. So we're technically empty nesters. So that means we get to explore even more, to try new things. And I've been doing a bit more commercially. I have a couple of film projects with Netflix that are happening.
Brilliant.
And so, the rest of us, who knows? Who knows what's going to come after that?
Brilliant. Busy times. Is that Nightsister's magic? It must be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Big round of applause for Jerryl, please.
Thank you all.
Email radio@fanthatracks.com. Head to links.fanthatracks.com for links to our social media feeds, Fantha Tracks TV and Fantha Tracks Radio. Thanks to James Semple for the Fantha Tracks intro, Rouge Harvest for our Making Tracks opening music, and Mark Daniel and Vanessa Marshall for our voiceovers. New episodes drop Tuesdays and Fridays at 7 o'clock UK time. Our weekly news show, Good Morning Tatooine, goes live Sundays at 9 o'clock UK time on Facebook and YouTube. And remember, Fantha Tracks is absolutely free, so it costs nothing to stay updated on all the latest Star Wars news.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's another episode of Making Tracks.